One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Well, I think the DNC needs to look into this and take appropriate action, and I'm sure that they will. What's disturbing to us is that experts are telling us that Russian state actors broke into the DNC.
The Russians have landed.
This whole dang island's under attack by Russia.
Stole these emails, and other experts are now saying that the Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump. I don't think it's coincidental that these emails were released on the eve of our convention here, and that's disturbing, and I think we need to be concerned about that. I think we need to be concerned that we also saw last week at the Republican convention that Trump and his allies made changes to the Republican platform to make it more pro-Russian.
The Russians have captured the airport. Yeah.
And we saw him talking about how NATO shouldn't necessarily defend our Eastern European allies if they're attacked by Russia. So I think when you put all this together, it's a disturbing picture, and I think voters need to reflect on that.
Listen, you guys, we've just got to get organized. For God's sake, we've got to get organized.
What evidence is there that the Russians were behind this in terms of the hacking or in terms of the timing by WikiLeaks?
Well, we need to let the experts speak on this. It's been reported on in the press that the hackers that got into the DNC are very likely to be working in coordination with Russia.
Just don't panic.
And again, I think if the Russians in fact have these emails, again, I don't think it's very coincidental that they're being released at this time to create maximum damage on Hillary Clinton and to help Donald Trump.
But it's a very, very strong charge at your level in here. You're basically suggesting that Russians hacked into the DNC and now are releasing these files through WikiLeaks to help elect Donald Trump.
Well, this isn't my assertion. There are a number of experts that are asserting this. I think we need to get to the bottom of these facts, but that is what experts are telling us. Experts have said that it is the Russians that in fact went in and took these emails, and then if they are the ones who took them, we have to infer that they are the ones then releasing them.
It's all over. It's all over. We haven't got a chance. Not a chance.
Obviously, you're not going to answer the question about specifics.
I don't have all the facts.
The Russians are coming! The Russians! Here we go again.
I had a little fun with that. And so let me just tell you, going to be a little bit informal today because I got to make a hard stop at 7 p.m., which means I got to stop at 6:30 if we're going to do the after party. So that video that you just watched, I created that in 2016. I have heard so many people over the last 24 to 48 hours who have said over and over, nothing is going to happen. It's at this point, 10 years later, 9 years later, people have gotten to the point where they've seen things, and nothing ever happens. And they wonder, is this it all over again? And so I'm going to approach that subject today with a little bit different of a, basis or foundation for what I'm going to tell you. Because there's a lot you need to know. And so I'm going to start this because, as you guys heard when I talked to Alfredo Luna the other day, we kind of went into some deeper stuff, if you will. And I mentioned, as many people have heard and many people have mentioned to you, maybe in other podcasts or wherever, about taking the red pill versus the blue pill. See, that's been said for a long time, and all of a sudden that's going to take prominence again. Because you are either going to have to take the red pill or the blue pill. Especially right now if you're wondering or doubting if anything is ever going to happen. Hopefully by the end of this broadcast, you'll feel confident that something is definitely going to happen. I don't know what, but I feel confident that something is going to happen. And I hope to show you that in a couple minutes. And if you remember the movie The Matrix, and if you haven't seen The Matrix, the first one, let me know in the comments, because maybe we should do that on a movie night. Show the movie The Matrix. It started off the entire thing with the red pill. And one of the guys, lead characters in the movie, I can't show it to you because it's copyright, says, you know what, gonna take the red pill or the blue pill. You take the blue pill, the story ends, you wake up in your bed, and you believe whatever you want to believe, which is what some people here need to do. If you don't want to listen, take the blue pill, log off, unsubscribe, and believe whatever you want to believe. However, if you take that red pill, we're going to allow you to stay in Wonderland. And hopefully, I can be like Morpheus and show you how deep this rabbit hole goes. It's very interesting that there are so many people who are now Trump supporters that I don't know if they were Trump supporters back in the day. That clip that I put together was an old movie from 1960s or something, and it was called The Russians Are Coming. And I just thought it was hilarious because everything became about the Russians. Those of you who have been following and supporting Trump from 2016, you know specifically what happened. But there's a lot of people who got on board just recently. And they don't know that there are people like me and people like you who've been dealing with this crap for 9 years. So if you're sitting around now saying nothing's going to happen, what do you think we feel like? What do you think we feel like knowing what we've went through since 2016? How we watched this entire government turn on its head, go completely upside down, and be laughed at, and deplatformed, and demonetized, and everything that possibly, people lose family, lost relationships, everything they could do to try and drive a wedge in between anyone who believed in Donald Trump and anyone who didn't. We've been through it all. I can't even take enough time to tell you all the different things that we've all been through. But some of us, since, 2017, 2018, 2019, have taken the red pill, and it's allowed us to take the scales off of our eyes and see what has been happening. So I'm going to tell you a little bit history. Obviously, President Trump wasn't in politics. he decides, hey, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring here. I'm going to run in 2016. And immediately, everybody in the establishment opposed him. They didn't want this newcomer coming to their country club. No, we can't have these outsiders knowing what's going on. And from the very day that he announced his presidential campaign, the arrows were out. Not typical like we used to see. You know, we've voted for Bush. We voted, if we were around, for Reagan. And there were heated campaigns, but nobody saw anything like this. This was complete vitriol, complete screaming, anything they could do to get this guy out of the race. Forget what you've just heard over the last couple of years. It was just as bad back then. And then he became president, and even when he became president, they surrounded him with a cocoon of snakes. Even the people who were, Republicans were giving him bad advice and doing all kinds of crazy things. Complete, what I would consider to this day, traitorous activity. Even behind his back, the people that were supposed to be on his side were going after him and doing all kinds of deals to get rid of him. So when you think to yourself, is anything going to happen at this point? You have to see the difference. The difference being, now, having won in 2024, President Trump has surrounded himself with people that they didn't want. They didn't want Pete Hegseth. They definitely didn't want RFK Jr. And they didn't want Tulsi Gabbard. They didn't want the people that the only person that they voted on almost unanimously was Mark Rubio, because they thought he was one of them from before. And now he has shocked them because he's not one of them. He's on board with Trump. And so I look at it as a completely different scenario, is because we haven't seen this. We didn't see President Trump with a cabinet that's got his back. If you were around in 2016 and 2017, you knew all about Bill Barr. You knew all about Jeff Sessions. You knew all about Rice Priebus, I guess was his name. All these people. And the ones he tried to embrace, they tried to take apart. Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn didn't even get to step foot into the administration. They got him day one. So when you're asking yourself that question, is anything going to happen? This is the first opportunity for something to happen. Let me just explain that again. 2016 to 2020, they fought him from the inside. We watched the movie a couple of weeks ago, The Enemy from Within, with Patrick Byrne and Michael Flynn. The election in 2020 was the penultimate thing that they did, and they got rid of him, and they installed Biden, which of course nothing was going to happen. And now, segue to 2024, he gets elected. This is the first opportunity for him actually to do something. Since that time in 2016, what has happened? Well, since that time in 2016, everything. They've gone after him personally. They've gone after his real estate. They've gone after his properties in terms of the valuation. They tried to fine him into oblivion and say, you owe us $500 million in cash. You got to put up all these bonds. They've destroyed his friends. They've destroyed Trump supporters. They put people in jail. Then, as you know, somebody took a shot at him. All of this has happened. Why? Because they had to stop him because of what is going on right now. They knew that once he got back in power, and he's not going to make the mistakes from the first term, he's not going to listen to all the people that they put in his place to basically babysit him. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, bring in Rice, and bring in Jeff, and yeah, they got the insurance policy, and Pence the traitor. They had him surrounded from inside. So when people say nothing happened before, well, nothing could happen. Bill Barr wasn't going to do anything. And Sessions didn't do anything when he had a chance either. And then Pence didn't do anything. Then he's out of office. And they're not going to do anything for 4 years. So you have to sit back and realize at this point right now, this is the first opportunity President Trump has had to actually get something done against the deep state. A lot of people don't look at it that way. I'm like, hey man, we've been waiting for like forever. Yeah, we waited. Didn't have a shot. There was no chance anything was going to happen. But now it's a little bit different. Because 2016, it's almost like 2020 to 2024, we can just say was a, I don't know, like the thing that they did in Men in Black. Just zap your mind and nothing was going to happen. And they brought this old guy in who couldn't even tie his shoes. And we just basically bobbed in the water. And so now you've got Tulsi Gabbard, who they personally went after. And she's using very, very specific language. She has been, over the last 2 days, outlining in detail a very vast conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2016 election, to completely usurp President Trump, and in turn subvert the will of the American people. And that was a years-long coup. This isn't a coup that started just a little while ago in July of 2024 when they shot him. Oh no, this has been going on since the day he came down the escalator, even before then. It's been a 9 years long coup. Me personally, I will say the coup has been going on a lot longer than that. Maybe since 9/11, maybe before 9/11. See, they've been trying to take down America for quite some time. So the coup against Trump was he's just another domino. We got to just get him out of the way. So the question remains, is anything going to happen? Well, I'm going to tell you this and show you some stuff today. Because if anything was ever going to happen, now is the time, and he's the guy. You have to realize it at this point. So anyone who has been upset and think nothing's going to happen, now you realize, I hope you can sit back and go, nothing could have happened in the last 4 years. All right, so that takes us back to 2020. And then nothing really could have happened before then because the stakes were all in the grass. So this is the first time something actually could happen. Hope some of you guys are sitting there going, I didn't think of it that way. No one's brought it out to me and shown me that we've been waiting. Some of us have had our tickets to the movie for a long time, but there was no way. The movie got put on hold. They basically canceled it like at the Colbert Show. Nope, we're not doing anything with Trump, and all you rest of you people are going to, either go to jail, we're going to deplatform you. Shut up. So now you have to take it in your mind as if the clock just started in January. If you think that, if you start taking yourself like, forget what happened before because of what I've said to you thus far, and take it as the clock started on January 20th, that gives you a whole different perspective because a whole crap load of things have happened in the last 6 months. Tomorrow being, the day of inauguration, 6 months. Tomorrow. 6 months. That's when this timetable should have started in your mind. So if you're talking to people and they're like, nothing's going to happen, ask them, why? Why do you think nothing's going to happen? And they're going to say to you, well, nothing has ever happened. Like, how could it? When would it have happened? And make people think. When Robbie Mook did that interview with Jake Tapper, I jumped all over Jake Tapper back then. He responded to me. Well, what do you expect me to say? I expect you to ask real questions. He didn't block me, but he didn't respond again after that. So I'm going to take you through some things today. And this next 2 minutes is probably going to make you go, whoa. Especially if you're a newbie. If you're a normie who's just seeing this stuff for the first time, it's going to make you think. All right, so let's continue here, all right?
Right now, we don't have free press. We don't have free anything. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today, I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not going to let this happen. Not going to let it happen. I will totally obliterate the deep state. I will.
All right, so many of you may have heard the line, but you didn't see him actually say it. He said it on stage at CPAC. And that was the first time he actually uttered it. I will totally obliterate the deep state. What do you think the deep state felt when they heard him say that?
Fire. Because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our First Lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it, too. So don't tell me about a free transition.
Do you remember that? Some of you may have never seen that. That was the line at the debate when he actually let everybody know, I got it all. And I remember sitting with Robin watching that going, oh my goodness, they're going to do something to him. They are definitely going to do something. I've got it all. So what makes you think if he said all that during the debate a long time ago that he still doesn't have it all? When you hear that, I hope you think and fast forward to the Mar-a-Lago raid. When he told the deep state, I got it all. I got it on tape. What do you think they were looking for at Mar-a-Lago? This is where the red pill consumption needs to begin. You heard the man actually say, we have it all, which is the same thing Amy Robach said years ago, 2016. She had it all. There are people out there saying, we got it all. None of us have seen it yet. And so here's the guy, when he loses the election, they don't forget that he said, we have it all. I got tapes. So I'm showing you something that the guy you voted for got on stage and said in public, which had to have put sphincters very tight, very quick. Whatever they needed to do for 2020, they're like, hey, man, we need to do it and do it now. We need to go to Operation Stop Trump and do whatever we have to do. And then we'll worry about going after him afterwards. But right now, there's no way we can let this guy in the office. So we saw what happened in 2020, right? We all saw the entirety of the election. And we all went to bed and woke up and went, what? They activated everything they could possibly activate and more because they still couldn't win. And then all of a sudden, 3 o'clock in the morning, boom, oh yeah, he won. Huh? How? And then the games began. They decided they were going to go after him every way possible. Let's put cases on him in Georgia. Let's go after him and say he did this to E. Jean Carroll in a department store dressing room. Let's say that he overvalued his property. Let's just make stuff up, whatever we got to do. And then let's send the FBI, armed guys on land and sea, and surround his property and kick in front doors and see if we can't find that stuff that he has it all. Notice they had, it was so bad they had to manufacture evidence for that. Oh yeah, here's some envelopes that say top secret on it. You remember that? Classified. It was all fake. What do you think they were there looking for? Your adversary says, I got the goods on you, and then you go kicking his door trying to find those goods. They were after him for 4 years, and he's still standing. I almost feel, if you guys are a little bit older, you remember the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier fight, when, you know, the rope-a-dope, when he just let Joe Frazier punch himself out until he got tired. Anyway, boo, 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 boo. I think we just saw the ultimate rope-a-dope. You took every shot at me, literally, you could. Every single one. 50 or whatever, 90 felonious charges. You did everything. You went through my wife's underwear drawer. So I'm asking you a question personally right now. If somebody did, or some people did all of that to you, and you didn't have the chance before to do anything because your hands were tied behind your back, and now you have the chance to right those wrongs, what are you gonna do? I can tell you, if something like that happened to me, Robin would tell me, you need to go kick some ass. That's it. Enough. Go do what you got to do, honey. So when people are saying, you know, I don't think anything's going to happen, you think he came this far? Ran for president again? Has done everything he's done not to seek retribution? Even when he went on stage and said, I am your retribution. You guys know what the word retribution is? You might want to look that up too. And now you have the sequence of it. Listen to what he says here.
The focus, I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. I will
Now I'm the hunter. Now this guy's not out for it, is he? He's not out for any retribution. He's not out to stomp these people's faces. That's what you need to tell people. He didn't have the opportunity before. Now he's got the opportunity. And he's only had that opportunity since January. Those of you guys who are like begging to see handcuffs and thing, hold on. It takes a little bit of time. But they've been doing the investigation. What Tulsi Gabbard put out yesterday, and she's been doing the circuit today, they just didn't all of a sudden find that out. They've been working on that probably since day one. And what you see is like the Titanic. The iceberg that you can see is nothing compared to all the stuff you don't see. And the deep staters know that. They know at this point because they played the game. They know if that's the stuff she's telling everybody, maybe he does have it all. Maybe indeed he does have it all. I believe he does. Here, listen again.
Obliterate the deep state. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape.
When I heard that again, I went back and researched it and had to get in my software and say, hey, find me that clip. I don't think people remember. I don't think people have seen it. Now you've seen it and you've heard it. I got it all. So that should make you sit back and go, blue pill, please. Blue pill, please. And then, if you choose to, you can go digging back into, I don't know, that 17th letter that they called us all tinfoil hat crazy people. And now we're seeing all these things happen, basically, that was said back then, but couldn't get done. We're seeing it. We're absolutely seeing it. I got to show you guys something. This is my sneakers. Where is it? Is it this one? Yeah. All right, so here's the MAGA sneakers. They're sponsoring today's show. There they are. And you know how sometimes you see something and you think to yourself, man, I got to have this. This is the MAGA sneakers. I need those in my life like yesterday, you may be saying to yourself. That was me when I first came across these. They're beautiful. Trump never surrender gold sneakers. These aren't just shoes. They're a full-on statement. Bold, fearless, and unapologetically patriotic. I mean, just look at them. The gold finish, the red, white, and blue accents on the side, a piece of American pride right on your feet. And let me tell you, or actually I don't have to tell you, you can see they look really good. The quality is legit, they're comfortable, durable, and surprisingly lightweight. I'm wearing them to dinner tonight. These kicks aren't sitting in the back of your closet gathering dust. You'll actually want to wear them and show them off. Maybe even start a few conversations, which they do. What I love most is the message they send. Never surrender. It's not just a slogan, it's a mindset. Whether you're out making moves, going to dinner, or just walking into the weekend, these sneakers, I shudder to call them sneakers because they're more like shoes, are a reminder to stand strong and never back down. They've also become a favorite gift. I mean, we all know someone who would love these sneakers, and any big Trump supporter or collector would love them as well. All right, so what you need to do if you want to get these sneakers, or rather your own pair, not mine, all you got to do is go to themagaoffers.com/Barry. 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 And you'll get a special discount by using the code Barry at checkout. All right, so go to themagaoffers.com/Barry. All right, so let's continue. But you know, before I continue, let me take a few comments here, because there's probably some people here thinking, "Hey, man, I don't get all this." And let me see if there's anybody here questioning. Sharon's Daily Devotion says, I think he does have it all on them and was going to play nice, but now they have made him angry. Yeah, I think a shot in the head will do that to you. I think somebody taking a shot and trying to kill me, yeah, that might do it to me. Is Florida Barbie his weapon or a snake? I can tell you, I've watched Pam Bondi work down here. I don't think she's a snake. I think she's the real deal. I really do. Let's see here. Don't go to jail with them on. Let's see here. Just send me the SOP. I don't have to pay. Never seen that movie, but you never seen The Matrix? Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Gonna need way more popcorn. You are the real life Morpheus. I love that movie from the first time I'd ever seen it, because the way it was approached was just so good. And if you guys haven't seen it, I won't do a spoiler alert for you, but telling people you have the key to what you believe. You obviously can't look at the media. I put up a post earlier, and the media was basically that the media hasn't even covered it. I searched MSNBC, CNN, CBS, and ABC. Nothing. Not a word, which tells you it's worrisome. If it wasn't worrisome, they'd either be making fun of it, or they would be covering it and saying Trump's out of his gourd. Zippo. Nothing. Not a word. Why is that? We'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow should be very interesting when we get and start looking at the Sunday shows. See if they have many Trump people in the cabinet. Were they going to talk about crypto? Are they going to talk about immigration? Let's see how many people actually have the cojones to bring this stuff up. Because one of the problems with them bringing this stuff up, and you just saw one of the biggest proponents or advocates for it, is that these media companies are complicit. They were the ones who were furthering all the BS. And so now they know if he's coming for this person, he's coming for that person, he's coming for them as well. That idiocy that the Wall Street Journal tried to put out, that was just completely idiocy. And they're going to get sued to the order of, I believe it's $10 billion is the lawsuit, which is freaking people out. That and the fact that Stephen Colbert got fired, or they canceled his show, it's freaking the left out. All they can do right now is set everything on fire because they can't believe what's happening around them. And it's going to keep going. Let me show you a couple of things. This was from Paul Sperry. As more people are starting to dig into this. Breaking, this was last night. Obama invited into a top-secret situation room meeting on rigging Russia intel versus Trump the pro-Hamas Palestinian Mahar Bitar, who is a leader of Students for Justice in Palestine, which advocates for Israel's destruction. Bitar later helped Adam Schiff impeach Trump. Let me tell you where this is going. Let me show you another thing, because this is, well, Stephen Miller, as you know, works for Trump. D&I Gabbard has exposed the startling depths of a seditious coup against the Republic. The forces behind this coup have done and will do anything to protect their grasp on illegal and illegitimate power. Do not underestimate their capabilities or depravities. But we are stronger. Do not underestimate their capabilities or depravities. Meaning, shit could get really bad here. They will do anything, as you saw. They went up into trying to kill him to stop what's coming. You guys need to realize this. And what I'm going to show you, or talk to you about right now is, let me go back to what Paul Sperry said. Paul Sperry's post here really is important. So you're seeing that this tied into Adam Schiff's impeachment of Trump. A lot of people are out there telling you this is beyond the statute of limitations. Let me tell you how it ties in. Special counsel, Pam Bondi, however they do it, if they can say that what's happened within the last couple years is a part of an ongoing conspiracy, they can go all the way back to the beginning. If it's the same characters, if the same people have been pulling the strings and they can prove that, they will then be able to go way back, and the statute of limitations does not expire if she can make the tie-in. So as people are out there telling you, and maybe you may hear people say, oh, it's beyond the time of the statute of limitations. Not for what they have planned. Because the problem with these people is that they continue to do it. It hasn't stopped. And because it hasn't stopped, that's why you're seeing some of these people walk in and give this fifth, I'm taking a fifth, I'm taking a fifth, I'm taking a fifth. All of it, the auto pen, everything. If it's the same people, which we know they are, and all roads lead back to Obama. So the statute of limitations limitation won't be a limitation. You got it? I want to make sure everybody understands that. If the same people is still doing the same crap, they can go back, and it doesn't really matter how long. That's very important for you to remember it and talk about with people. All right, let's continue.
Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are...
This was his inauguration, obviously, in 2016. I believe it was 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. I want you to watch. If you haven't seen this before, or if you forget, okay, here I'm about to give you some more red pillage. Here, some more red pillage for those of you who haven't digested it yet. You're about to see something that probably put the deep state into a serious panic. This tape is only a minute and a half, maybe 90 seconds long. I'm gonna have to put up the chat because I want to hear what people say when you guys see this, because it happens so quick. Most people completely missed this. And if you missed it or didn't understand what was going on, Well, you're about to find out. Let me go back to the beginning of when he first started talking. All right, so I want you to hear this. All right, here we go.
4 years we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. And we are grateful to President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama.
When you watched this, did you wonder what was going on and why were these people walking around behind him? Do you remember what was happening right here? Listen.
For their gracious aid throughout this transition. They have been magnificent. Thank you.
Did you see George Bush with the smirk? See, that was an inside joke, or rather, an inside warning. Hey, you guys have been magnificent. And George is like, but look what's behind him right now. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a president do a speech where commanders and high-level people, we're not talking about, entry-level Marines or anything, when decorated people in the military came up and stood behind the president? And just listen to what he says. Which button?
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. Politicians prospered, but
did you notice that? What happened? One of the guys came up from behind, and then they all filed out as quickly as they showed up. They showed up just to stand behind him for that 1 or 2 lines. Many people who have taken the red pill have said that was the moment he was signaling to everybody what was about to happen. And many people for a long time have said the only way this works is through the military. And that statement right there, a lot of people have held on to, is that these guys came out, stood behind him at the time he was saying, for too long, these people have been doing the wrong thing. We're putting the power back in your hands, back in the power of the people. And then they just went away.
Jobs left and the factories closed. The establishment protected itself, but not the citizens of our country. Their victories have not been your victories. Their triumphs have not been your triumphs.
Now understand, as he's saying that, and he's saying that these politicians before, they don't care about you, as they're sitting in front of him or behind him. He's telling the same people who are sitting there, the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, they ain't been for you. And he's literally calling them out right in front of their faces. Way back in January of 2017. 8 long years he's been waiting to do exactly what he's saying at this speech.
While they celebrated in our nation's capital, there was little to celebrate for struggling families all across our land. That all changes starting right here and right now, because this moment is your moment. It belongs to you. This is the will.
So, looking back look in the looking glass here, we're hearing President Trump in front of the other presidents and whoever else is there in the deep state, this ends right here, right now. So imagine you're part of that deep state and you hear this guy saying that ends right here, right now, and he's telling you these people have sold you out. They're the ones celebrating. You don't get to celebrate. They're not here for you. He's saying it while they're sitting there. They didn't know what he was going to say, but they're sitting right there while he said all of this. Now remember, prior to getting elected, he had already said, what? I've got it all. So now we're going to go into today, or yesterday.
Kane Show, and we begin with a breaking news alert. Fox News Digital exclusively reporting that the Obama administration manufactured and politicized intelligence to create a narrative that the Kremlin was trying to influence the 2016 presidential election. This is the origins of Russia, Russia, Russia.
So understand, as he was giving that speech, he knew that they had tried to use this Steele dossier, that they had tried to say he was in some hotel room in Russia and had hookers that were doing pee-pee on him. All this stuff. As he was giving that speech, this is after they have tried all this crap. Russia, 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 everything. And so the same people who did the Russia, Russia, Russia stuff were involved in what happened in 2020 and involved in what happened in 2024. So the statute of limitations expands. Their mistake was not realizing maybe we should change out the batters here, bring in relief pitchers, because if the same people, the Brennans, the Comeys, the Clappers, if it's all the same people, then we can go all the way back to 2016. That's something, in this short show today, I wanted to make sure you understood. That's their big mistake. That's what Tulsi Gabbard is dropping right now when you'll see it, when she's talking about Clapper and Brennan and Obama. There is no statute of limitations. It's the same group. So I hope you guys, you're gathering that now as you're taking your red pill and drinking your Diet Coke.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has just declassified today these documents, laying out this timeline. Prior to 2016 and the election, officials from across the intelligence community assessed Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. After President Trump's 2016 victory, early intel assessments proved that there was no foreign manipulation. Now, officials tell Fox that intelligence was then manufactured and politicized to be used as the basis for the year-long Mueller probe. The documents state, quote, hours before the December 8th, 2016 PDB was due to be published, a senior intelligence official abruptly pulled it from the president's briefing book. It was never published. The next day, on December 9th, 2016, the Obama White House convened in a classified NSC meeting with top administration officials to discuss Russia. Following the meeting, an email was then sent from then DNI Clapper's executive assistant to the intelligence community officials with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling. Within hours...
All right, so he's mentioning the names here, and you heard Tulsi mention those names as well. And as he's mentioning these names, you remember he's talking about 2016. They're the same names that showed up in all the crap in 2020. The same exact people. So they obliterated... good choice of words, they obliterated the statute of limitations.
The intelligence community made a 180-degree pivot and started drafting an intelligence community assessment that directly contradicted assessments from the previous 6 months, manufacturing and amplifying the Russia hoax narrative. This is what DNI Director Gabbard is saying today. There was a treasonous conspiracy.
Now, let me just tell you something. If those of you who were basically involved with supporting President Trump all the way back to 2016, this is the first time anyone in his orbit has used that word. Tulsi Gabbard has come out and said this was treason, which also makes things go way back in terms of, because there's no statute of limitations on treason. So either way, they've got these people in quite the bind at this point. And she was strong enough to come out and use the word. You don't come out with those kinds of guns blazing if you don't feel very comfortable that you got the goods. And on top of that, using the Titanic analogy again, what she's telling people is this much. She's not dropping their case. I'm not going to tell you everything we got, but I'm telling you, this is what we got, and I'm leading with the T word right off the bat. These people are toast. So if there are people in here going, nothing's going to happen, well, I'm showing you a bunch of firsts. Never has anyone in Trump's orbit, anybody, any of the cabinet members, used the T word like this.
In 2016, committed by officials at the highest level of our government, will continue to break down the bombshell as it...
Again, it's the...
Now, here's something else you can notice, because as SV's not here today, but we've been inundated with trolls, which are just trying to jump in here and shake you off your game. Ignore them. If the other ladies can't get rid of them, then, you know, or Severo. But there are trolls in here saying, oh, pedos and pedo, because they want that. There's nothing else. They can't even confront what's in front of them. Same thing with the media. Same thing with people on X. They're going to try, oh, yeah, he did this, he did that. You can't even focus here. You can't even look at this. There's no combating what they're seeing in front of their faces. Now, John Brennan, he's trying to backpedal real quick here.
President's daily brief, but also the role that the Director of National Intelligence, Director of CIA play in order to ensure that the people who have to make those decisions in the Security Council are fully informed about what the reality is, what the intelligence is, what our intelligence gaps are, and if they withhold things or if they skew things, it really is going to be detrimental to
Real quick before we let you go, Director, do those agency heads have, in that moment you're describing in that room, have that realization that, wait a minute, that's not what we told you? I mean, in other words, how does that coordination become undone when the person who's putting the final brief is skewed the information?
Well, I like to think that, you know, Secretary of State Rubio, who is very familiar with the intelligence profession, is going to be speaking up, because you have the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, others.
Now you know why they were going so hard after Tulsi. They thought that Rubio was one of them. So we don't need to go after him. It's 99-0, whatever. Let's just put Rubio in. Tulsi, on the other hand, they tried to string her up. We can't let her get in there. She's not one of us. She doesn't belong to this country club. Oh, it's going to be awful. So they went after her hard.
Going to be there. So you want to make sure, again, that you have people who are informed, but also people who want to know the truth.
Right.
And not just people who want to give President Trump what he wants to hear. That is so, so dangerous. And none of the 6 presidents that I work for ever wanted the intelligence community.
Hear what he just said? Okay. So this idiot went on MSNBC and just told everybody none of the 6 presidents I ever worked for that you did the same shit for back then, huh? Guess what? All of that now can be brought in. They're going to fight like hell. But he just went on television and said none of the 6 presidents. Oh, so you've done this for a long time. You've done all kinds of subversive stuff against Americans. See, the other guys were probably playing along. They were getting paid. They didn't really care. But the crime is against America. It's not treason against Trump. It's not treason against George Bush. It's treason against America. So I'm waiting to see what happens, because he won't be one of them. But we're going to see some people who inevitably are going to have to come in and, instead of pleading the fifth, they're going to have to tweet like birds. They're going to have to give it up, turn state's evidence, because number one, they'll get bankrupt. Ask Michael Flynn. These people ain't got that kind of money. Brennan does, because he's a crook. But some of the other people underneath that they're going to snare in this net, it's going to get ugly.
to give them what they wanted. They wanted the intelligence community to give them what they needed, and then they can make the appropriate policy decisions, taking into account what the intelligence says.
All right.
Why do I want to take into account what the intelligence says when we already know that it's been manufactured for years? I.e., the dossier, i.e., the PP tape, i.e., the Biden laptop. There is no intelligence community. You guys are all hacks. And you've been cheating America on behalf of whoever it is you answer to. But now comes along a guy who's told you, I got it all, I'm coming for you. And then you wanted to make sure that Tulsi's life was as hard as possible. You put her on a no-fly list. She explains it here.
Is what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate Al-Qaeda. I hate that we have leaders who cozy up to Islamist extremists.
We have leaders who have cozied up to Islamist extremists. Who do you think she's talking about right there? This was during her confirmation hearing, and she was laying breadcrumbs. It wasn't what she said yesterday. She's laying breadcrumbs. So who would have been, cozying up to Islamist extremists? Yeah, Barack Obama. John Brennan. Did you know John Brennan is reported to be a Islamist? Again, this stuff is real deep. Go look it up. You might get a little surprised on that one. And so this is at her confirmation hearing, and she's letting people know I can't be bought.
Them to so-called rebels. As Jake Sullivan said to Hillary Clinton, quote, Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Well, Syria is now controlled by an Al-Qaeda offshoot, HTS, led by an Islamist jihadist who danced in the streets on 9/11 and who was responsible for the killing of many American service members. Democrat senators in the past resorted to anti-Christian bigotry against some of President Trump's judicial nominees like Amy Coney Barrett and Brian Boucher. I condemn those actions as a Democrat in Congress at the time, as religious bigotry must be thoroughly condemned by all of us, no matter the religion.
It's funny, I'm looking in the chat, and some people are like, doesn't everybody know about Brennan? That's up to you guys now to start educating people, because there are newbies, there are normies that jumped on very late. After seeing, President Diaper Boy, they're like, hey, let's go with Trump. But they have no idea of the history. They don't know who these other people are, who these other snakes are. There are many Democrats who are like, I didn't know that they were like this. They hid it from them. They browbeat them into that Trump was the racist, fascist, deplorable, all that stuff. There was a reason, because they didn't want normies to, you can't vote for them. And now, as you see here in some of the trolls, oh, now he's a pedo, like that's going to change people's minds. We know they're full of it. But she spelled it out during her confirmation hearing.
Unfortunately, there are some Democrat senators who still don't understand the principle of freedom of religion and Article 6 of the Constitution. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Unfortunately, they're once again using the religious bigotry card, but this time trying to foment religious bigotry against Hindus and Hinduism. If anyone is sincerely interested in knowing more about my own personal spiritual path of Hinduism, I welcome you to go to my account on X, where I'll share more on this topic. If confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will continue to live by the oath that I have sworn at least 8 times in my life, both in uniform and as a member of Congress. I will support and defend our God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to your questions.
And so she used that line at the end, which some people just use as a catchphrase, enemies foreign and domestic. But I like how she paused. It might not have meant anything, or it might meant something really big. And now what we're seeing, one of the things that you guys may see from, if you go and start digging into some things called drops, and you'll see what people say when they say past proves future, or future proves, past proves future. And you can see what's happening. So now last night, you guys know, many of you should know, she was on Hannity. So I've got the entire time she's on Hannity, but I'm going to have to show you something and stop.
So on his very first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order announcing that the federal government would, quote, take appropriate action to correct past misconduct related to the weaponization of law enforcement and the weaponization of our intel community. No person alive today knows what it's like to have the full force of the federal government turned against you better than Donald Trump. Well, he does not want any other Americans to have to go through what he went through, because President Trump, frankly, has been bent to hell and back. And
all right, so he mentioned it in passing. You need to go read it. I'm going to bring it up because I believe there's some things that, I always tell you guys to do your homework. And let me just show it to you if you have not been, I've showed it to you before, the ability to go look at executive orders. All right, so here was the order, and it was one of the first ones he signed on January 20th. Ending the weaponization of the federal government. On January 20th, you can go ahead and go to the White House. This is on whitehouse.gov, and you can look this up yourself. And it goes with the heretofores and all this stuff here. Therefore, the order sets forth a process to ensure accountability for the previous administration's weaponization of the federal government against the American people. And in here, he tells you specifically, he lays out what he's doing right now. He didn't have this in his first term. He's laying out here. If you guys want to go in here and read it, it's not incredibly long, but he tells you how he's going to do. The Attorney General, in consultation of the heads of the departments and agency of the United States, shall take appropriate action to review the activities of all departments and agencies exercising civil or criminal enforcement authority, including but not limited to the Department of Justice, Securities Exchange, the FTC, over the last 4 years, and identify any instances where a department or agency conduct appears to have been contrary to the purposes and policies of this order, and prepare a written report and recommendations. You miss it? Did you guys know about this? Did you know that one of the first things he did, the very first day, he authorized Pam Bondi? I don't even know if she was confirmed yet. But whoever the Attorney General was going to be was now going to have the order to go in every agency in the country, in the government, and begin looking at what people have done the previous 4 years. See, I don't think people have gone back and looked at this stuff. I'm like, have y'all read some of the executive orders that he has put out there that have just been sitting on the whitehouse.gov site? I got another one I can show you. You guys can read. Look, here, you'll love this one. Holding former government officials, just let that sink in, accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive governmental information. Again, on January 20th, he signed this. Holding former government officials accountable. Nope, it's just been sitting there. A lot of people don't read it, but it's there. And then if you want to look at some stuff, first line, in closing weeks of the 2020 presidential campaign, at least 51 former intelligence officials coordinated with the Biden campaign to issue a letter discrediting the reporting of President Joe Biden's son had abandoned his laptop and blah, 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 which you all know. And he goes in here and he talks about the CIA being involved and federal policymakers. And then here's where it gets really interesting, all right? To remedy these abuses of the public trust, this order directs the revocation of any active or current security clearances held by the former intelligence officials who engaged in misleading and inappropriate political coordination with the 2020 campaign. And also John Bolton. And down below here, it begins to list all the people that they're targeting. So none of this is by accident. Clapper, Hayden, Panetta, Brennan, and on and on and on, which these names you will be hearing about probably relatively soon. And he listed them. All these people here became targets on day one. Look at them all. I'm still scrolling. And number 50 was John Bolton. And these two people, they got off easy because they're already dead. And then this part here is what really got me. I'm going to highlight it so you guys can see it. All right. Within 90 days of this order, which would have been, I don't know, April 1st? Yeah, three months, 90 days. The Director of National Intelligence. Who? The Director of National Intelligence. Within 90 days, the Director of National Intelligence. Boys and girls, who's the Director of National Intelligence? That would be Tulsi Gabbard. In consultation with the Director of the Central Intelligence Agency, shall submit a report to the President through the National Security Advisor that details boom, da boom, da boom, da boom, any disciplinary action, and all this other stuff. He gave her a directive, or whoever was going to be the DNI, on day one. So now you got to sit back to yourself, well, hey, it's July, late July. She's been working on this since day one, or whenever it was that she took, her confirmation. He posted it. He posted this, that the DNI was supposed to give me a report on what we're going to do about all these people. And so for the last few months, she's been working on this. Nobody's telling you this stuff. Remember, all these people's names. Right now, these people, serious sphincter tightening going on right here. And this was posted on January 20th. So when people think that all of a sudden she just came up and, with these names and she's going to, tell you about this treasonous activity, that's because she's been working on it since day one, whatever her day one was. You guys in the chat can go back and look and see when she was confirmed. But whatever day they confirmed her, Tulsi was already under orders. She was already told, this is what we're going to do. So whatever date that was, some of you guys can look it up. And they're going to, now it's like, oh my gosh, she's been working on this stuff her and the CIA have been doing this stuff. The interesting part about all this, didn't get leaked. Well, it kind of got leaked. He told you. He told you on day one, hey, on day one, this is what I want her to be doing. Start digging in all these people who started crap in 2020. One of the first things he did when he got in office. So nobody can be surprised right now unless they didn't pay attention. Unless they haven't taken the red pill and go, wait a second, he's already doing things different than he did in the first term. So when people say nothing's going to happen, it's already happening. So you think he's went through all this, with all the litany of things I mentioned to you, including taking a bullet, and still, a couple months after taking a bullet, he writes this executive order and says, we're going for it, boys. Let's do this. He's known where he's going with it. We didn't, because we didn't know at that time where he was going. It's incredible when you start looking at the documentation. And so I urge you to go back. Let me see if I can find it here and show you, because a lot of people don't know that all this stuff is here on the White House website in full view. Let me go here. I just want to show you the table of contents. If I go to Where is it? Presidential actions. All right. There are a whole bunch in here. 32 pages worth of stuff. All the way back to the first of the year. Take your time and pick one here and pick one there, and you can personally see all this stuff that's been going on and how long he's been doing it. So he and Stephen Miller and Tulsi and other members of the cabinet, they've been in there digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. In addition to all the stuff he said he had. I got it all. Let's see what I hear. Future proves past. Okay, exactly. That was a term. God's timing is perfect. It is, always. Treason is forever green. And now you're seeing a lot of this stuff. Somebody goes, Donnie knows where he's going. Absolutely. When will this come to an end? It is going to take some time as they have to build the case. But I want you to begin thinking it didn't start until January 20th, which means it's only been going on. No, you can't even say 6 months because the different people weren't confirmed. You can probably look up right now and say, when was Pam Bondi confirmed? When was Tulsi Gabbard confirmed? You can put it in the chat. And then things started working. He didn't have people in place yet. Here, let me look it up. When was Pam? When was Pam Bondi confirmed? Hold on. She was confirmed. Pam Bondi was confirmed on February 4th or 5th. Let me see when Tulsi was confirmed. And Tulsi Gabbard was confirmed in February as well, I believe. Let me see if I can see a date. It looks like February 12th or February 11th. So, knowing that, you have to now say, they've only been on the job for 5 months. They weren't there. Even though he put the order in place so whoever was going to be here would be hitting the ground running, they weren't there yet. And then when Dan Bongino got there, with Kash Patel, it was probably a month or two after that. So the team wasn't even put in place. Here, let me find that out for you. When was Kash Patel? I don't think Dan had to go through Kash Patel. Kash Patel on February 20th. So you're looking at people who've only been there for 5 months. By the way, do you know who Kash Patel worked under in the previous administration? Devin Nunes, who is the CEO of True Social, and so it's been a tight group. But so the question is, when will this come to an end? It's going to be some time, but you're seeing it move now. Now you're starting to see movement. That's why they're fixing up Alcatraz. I bet you're right. We can wait a little while more. The door is now open. Things are going to pile up now. Yep. You're going to see people cut deals and all kinds of stuff. So let me continue because I'm going to check my time because Robin will come here and knock on the door and we got to go. All right, so check this out.
All started at the beginning of his first term with the totally phony Russia hoax. We spent 3 years unpeeling every layer of that onion on this program with John Solomon and Greg Jarrett and Sarah Carter and others. Today, we're learning another shocking detail about the early days of that sham investigation. We have a newly declassified report prepared for President Barack Obama back in December of 2016, right after Donald Trump won, specifically stating, quote, Russian criminal activity failed to reach the scale and sophistication necessary to change election outcomes. And they were talking about one place in Chicago. Now, the deep state did not like the assessment. That was put together by career people, rank and file people. But when the politicized people around Obama got it, guess what? It changed. They never let Obama see it. Then when he asked them to prove that Russia meddled in the election, they just simply complied and they turned it on its head. And frankly, in many ways, you can say they polluted what was real intelligence and they turned it into poison. And they did it to destroy one man. Is it any wonder that there are now reportedly criminal investigations, this conspiracy investigation by Kash Patel underway, and it specifically names Comey and Brennan. All right, here to give us all the details and bring us up to speed with reaction, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She declassified this report yesterday, has many more details. You know, I have this creation of the Russia hoax that you put out on X, that you posted on X, and I'll put it up as you're speaking here. What is amazing to me as I've gone through this cache of documents you've released is they concluded just the opposite. They concluded there was no problem. And then all of it, that was the rank and file. These were career people in the intel community. They gave honest assessments. Then all of a sudden it ends up in the hands of the leadership, the deep state as we call them, and what happened to it? Can you explain what the process and what these documents reveal?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. This is such an important issue, and I just want to start by saying that this is an issue that is important to every single one of us as Americans. This is not a partisan issue. It has to do with the integrity and the strength of our democratic republic. And it lays out this over 100 documents that you're referencing that I released, declassified and released, spells out in great detail exactly what happens when you have some of the most powerful people in our country directly leading at the helm, President Obama and his senior-most national security cabinet, James Comey, John Brennan, James Clapper, and Susan Rice and others, essentially making a very...
See, that was the first time I had heard about Susan Rice with this. We knew Susan Rice was kind of iffy, that she was doing some different things. She was so bad, she emailed herself a memo just in case, like, she'd have a get-out-of-jail card because she knew that this stuff was wrong. And so she, I don't know if you guys have heard that. Maybe I'll get that for tomorrow. But she emailed herself so she would have a receipt of telling these guys, yeah, I don't know if we want to do all this. And so now she's named the entirety of the top brass in the Obama administration. Almost, Comey, Brennan, Clapper, Susan Rice, and Obama. That is the top, the apex. And the thing with it, the fact that she's naming it and basically calling them treasonous, means she's putting herself out there. So if they wanted to do like Trump is and sue her, they can't. Because the truth is the absolute bar of defamation. So it's almost like she's saying, bring it. You think you can sue me for calling you guys traitors? Bring it. I'd love to have that discovery. And the fact that they're all quiet right now should tell you a lot. I mean, what if somebody accused you of being a traitor and said you were doing treasonous stuff? Oh, first thing out of your mouth was, no, that ain't me. The only thing Obama's out there doing is telling people they need to have gay friends. Which is probably something else he put out there just to try and get out there in the public or what, I don't know. But I know if somebody accused me of something like this, the very first thing would be, take it back or I'm suing you. And none of them have said anything.
Intentional decision to create this manufactured, politicized piece of intelligence with the objective of subverting the will of the American people who in November of 2016 delivered a historic victory to President Trump, defeating Hillary Clinton. And President Obama and his team, their goal was to essentially not accept the decision of the American people. And
now, I just wanted to stop for a second because here's a comment from the Bama fan, and it's 100% true. Most of this is old news. But to so many people, they've never heard it. Obviously, Bama fan, you've been around for some time, just like me. We all knew this. We weren't allowed to talk about it. Excuse me, if you decided you were going to go on Twitter, old Twitter, or even on YouTube and talk about these guys being treasonous, they'd bounce you. You'd be gone. We were told to shut up. You guys remember who've been around? Everything had to go underground. That's why that guy with the 17th letter. That's why people were looking at these things, because everything people were talking in code. He's absolutely right. This is old news. But now it's coming out and the normies are beginning to see it.
Use this manufactured, politicized intelligence as a means to enact what would become essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. You have gone into great detail over these years of what the effects of this document and this decision have resulted in. Obviously, a years-long Mueller investigation that cost taxpayers almost $40 million, 2 congressional impeachments, endless smears and attacks against not only President Trump, but his family. He had senior members of his team who were investigated, some arrested and jailed. We had heightened and increased tensions between the United States and Russia. The list goes on and on about the consequences of President Obama and his senior cabinet members politicizing intelligence once again, and I say these words very clearly, to enact what was essentially a years-long coup, subverting the will of the American people.
Now, understand something. A lot of you people in here are saying, I know this is old news. Yes, of course it is. But you can explain to some people in the chat why it's old news and how you know it's old news. But there's one big, monstrous difference. It was old news to us. We were complaining about it. Trump was complaining about it. People were talking about it, but nobody could do anything. There was no way that the Biden administration was ever going to do something. So now you actually have the DNI, Tulsi right there, Pam Bondi, they're using the word treason. It's criminal. It's no longer just a bunch of us going, oh man, they did this. Oh yeah, we watched them do all this crap. They cheated. They did this. It's no longer talk. Now it's into the legal realm. That's the big difference. Once she laid down the big gun and said it's treasonous, she is now letting people know this is a criminal enterprise, where before it was, oh, maggots are all complaining. Oh, these maggots don't know what, there's no evidence. Oh, there's no evidence. You don't know what you're talking about. Now, the people in control have the evidence. I hope you can see the difference with that. Yes, we did know, but now the people who have to know and who can do something about it are doing something about it. That's the big difference.
Election in November. Now, you referenced this President's Daily Brief document that was drafted for President Obama in early December that reaffirmed what the intelligence community professionals, as you say, had been assessing for the previous 6 months leading up to the election, which was that Russia neither had the intent nor capability to essentially hack the outcome of the U.S. election. As you said, President Obama's political appointees pulled that document before it could be published, and it has not been published until we released it today. And the very next day after they pulled that document, President Obama called a National Security Council cabinet meeting to discuss how Russia interfered with the election. Again, this is the first week of December. This is December 9th, President Trump had already won. Correct.
This is the December 9th meeting.
That's exactly right. The December 9th meeting, we declassified and released what they call the summary of conclusions from that meeting. Then DNI James Clapper took the lead on what President Obama wanted done, and which was essentially create a document that tells us not if, but how Russia interfered with the election. President Obama delivered the conclusion that he wanted the intelligence community to reach and directed them to find and essentially create and manufacture the intelligence to support the conclusion that President Obama wanted to deliver to the American people. All
right, so that also is a big difference. Nobody, not me or anybody else, knew that it had got to the point. We kind of suspected Obama was. Now the PDB, the Presidential Daily Brief, was altered. That is news none of us knew. So now they're actually tying the White House, the Oval Office, into what we all saw, but we didn't have conclusive support, conclusive evidence. Now we have the evidence.
That document was drafted. The deep state kicked into gear and did what they usually do. They started leaking this classified information out to their friends at the Washington Post and others who are working hand in glove with the deep state to lay the groundwork for the assessment that they eventually released that served as the basis once again for this years-long coup with the goal of trying to subvert the American people's will and usurp President Trump from being able to deliver on the mandate that the American people gave to him when they chose to elect him as president of the United States.
So you had career intel people that came to a conclusion that, in fact, Russia did not interfere, that it had no impact, and they didn't like the assessment, and they have this meeting with President Obama at the time, and they make the decision, a very conscious decision, to pervert real intelligence, turn it into phony intelligence, but also simultaneously something else was happening. And James Comey, for example, was warned about the Russian disinformation dossier that was paid for by Hillary Clinton. He was warned not to trust it, but it became the bulk of information for not one but four separate FISA warrants, ruined Carter Page's life, but also backdoored an ability for them to spy on President Trump, candidate Trump, and transition team Trump. Nobody was ever held accountable for that either. Now, to me, it sounds like you have appointed, powerful bureaucrats that just flat out created a narrative that was false.
See what he's saying and what she's saying, and you may have missed. Again, here's some new information, and welcome, SV, the troll terminator. What you might have missed was, and I never heard this before, that there were lower level analysts who went to these people and said, no, you're wrong. There is no Russian interference. And these analysts were told, shut up. We're going to do what we need to do. How would she know that there are lower level analysts who were overruled and told, mind your business? Well, obviously these people have come forward. They must have these people in their palm. Whistleblower, turn state evidence, whatever you want to call it. That's something majorly different. I didn't know there were lower level staffers who were objecting to this. I always wondered, isn't nobody going to say anything? Is anybody going to say anything? And we always talked about it. Why is there nobody in this entire government? Now they're talking. How would she know that? How would you even possibly know that, hey, listen, there was a report given that said, no, Russia's not involved. And then you got this report, the PDB, given to saying Russia is involved. What happened here? Somebody doctored, manufactured the report, which is different than the analyst wrote. How do you know the analyst wrote something different? They must have them, which is, oh my God, good.
To undermine a duly elected president. Now, if that's not a grand conspiracy, I don't know what would be. Do you see crimes here?
I do, Sean, and I'm referring all of these documents that we have found and uncovered, referring them to the Department of Justice for further investigation, accountability, and action, not just investigation, but action.
Stop. Those of you wondering what's going to happen, it just happened. She just told you. It's been referred to the Department of Justice. It's gone from us talking about it to President Trump complaining about it, to the executive order saying, look into this. And she has spent 3-4 months looking into it. She has found out what's happened, and she's given it to the Department of Justice. So obviously it's happening. And now we know why, because I showed you the document. It was specifically directed to her. It didn't say, hey, Pam, go look this up. It said the Director of National Intelligence, start giving me a report. She's given a report. So it's actually happening.
Accountability has to take place. The American people's ability to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic is literally what's at stake, and therefore the future of our ability to exist as the country that we know it. This accountability is critical to make sure that this never happens again. Exposing the truth and naming those who are responsible should drive that accountability that has to take place. I just want to mention quickly, Sean, you mentioned the Steele dossier. That plays a critical role in these documents that we released, specifically because James Clapper, James Comey, John Brennan, they all knew that the Steele dossier was discredited at this point. It's not something any intelligence professional looked to as something that could be referenced or should be referenced in any intelligence assessment whatsoever. I know that there were professionals who were told include the Steele dossier in this January Obama-directed manufactured piece of intelligence, and they protested to people like John Brennan and James Clapper. They were shocked that it would even be considered. The Steele dossier was used in this manufactured assessment that President Obama directed be created, along with many other pieces of intelligence that the intelligence community itself, for months leading up to the election, said this is not credible and should not be used at all.
There should be no. So there's some people in the chat saying, how long is it going to sit on Pam's desk? I don't know how to get this through to some people. This is obviously an extremely high priority for President Trump. I just showed you all of the executive orders. Every single executive order. Go look. 32 different executive orders. 32 pages of executive orders. This was done on the first day. In those 32 pages of executive orders, you can go tell me if you find anything in all 32 pages, which probably comes up to a couple hundred, if the word Epstein is even mentioned. I bring that up only to tell you that when you're saying it's going to go sit on her desk, it's been a priority for the president. All the other stuff that you hear people screaming about, that's not a priority. His priority, as evidenced by the fact that he put these executive orders in place on day one, and in the executive order said, I need a report from you in 90 days, and look what we have. So no, it's not going to, quote, sit on Pam Bondi's desk. They're already acting on it. How do I know? Because she wouldn't come out and say this if they weren't. She's not going to just go on Hannity or anywhere else or on X and say, oh, by the way, yeah, I'm ready to get these people arrested. But, it's up to Pam. See what she does. No, come on. You got to think better than this. You have to understand this is a coordinated announcement. It was coordinated by Trump. It was coordinated by Pam Bondi. It was coordinated by Kash Patel. Are we ready? Yes. Let's drop this. So no, it's not like she's like, look what I found. Now I don't know what Pam's going to do. And if you feel that way, you're not paying attention. I'm serious. I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but if you're saying stuff, oh, what's Pam going to do now? You're really showing that you really don't see what's going on.
On this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign.
So what you're watching right now is this goose getting cooked. He's sitting in front of Congress in June of 2017 and flat out lying. Listen to what he says. Now that you know what Tulsi has just said, listen to what he says. He felt very comfortable at that time. He knew that they can't do anything to me. I'm James Comey. I run this, and we've got all these people in place in the Trump administration who are not going to let him do anything. So he felt very comfortable going into Congress in June of 2017 and lying his ass off. because he knew nothing was going to happen to him. But they didn't expect that President Trump would win in 2024. They knew he wasn't going to do anything in 2020. They probably had already launched their insurance policy. So he felt very comfortable lying. Number one, nothing's going to happen right now. Number two, he's not going to be here. We're all set. Oh, crap, he won in 2024.
Being driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community, and the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country?
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than the DNC and the DCCC that were targets.
Correct. There was a massive effort to target government and non-governmental, near-governmental agencies like nonprofits.
What would be the estimate of how many entities out there the Russians specifically targeted in that time frame?
It's hundreds. I suppose it could be more than 1,000, but it's at least hundreds.
We got it all. We got it on tape. Your president said, we got it all. This dude sat in front of Congress and lied his ass off. Oh, it's thousands of Russians. Russians are all over the place. It's the Russians. There's no daylight. Everything they're doing. Oh, it's all Trump. Oh, he lied. And now Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, these guys have got to be freaking out. They have to be freaking out right now. Somebody snitched. Trump got to them. They've been talking, and now it's going to cost them millions of dollars to defend themselves. And I hope it doesn't go to a court in Washington and so he gets off. But you can ask anybody, including like Patrick Byrne or Michael Flynn. It's going to cost you millions to defend this. So other people who don't have millions and tens of millions, those people are going to cop to a plea real quick.
So brand new revelations into the alleged Russia hoax, a trove of declassified documents revealing evidence that the Obama administration manufactured and politicized intelligence during Trump's 2016 election.
The documents released by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, described secret meetings after Trump's victory where Obama officials directed the intel community to leak reports that Vladimir Putin was personally involved in the U.S. election hack. This after the intelligence community repeatedly determined that Russia was not trying to influence the election by cyber means.
Here with more is DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, thanks for joining us. And some of those individuals were literally the leaders of the intelligence community under President Obama. How significant is these documents that you've released?
Thank you so much. And thanks for focusing on this issue that these documents have really brought to the forefront, because it's one that doesn't just affect Democrats or Republicans. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue with such significant impact that it should concern every American, because it has to do with the fabric and integrity of our democratic republic. That we had a situation here where in the months leading up to the 2016 election, the intelligence community assessed, and this is what the documents detail, the intelligence community assessed essentially Russia doesn't have the tools, the capability, or the intent to try to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump pulls off a historic victory against Hillary Clinton in November of 2016. Even in the days after that election, the intelligence community continued their consistent assessment that reflected the same thing in the months leading up to the election. All of a sudden, in the early days of December, there was a president's daily brief that was drafted. This is put together by the different elements of the intelligence community that reflected that same assessment. Russia did not try to hack the election, in essence. That PDB, that document, was pulled hours before it was supposed to be published for the president to see that following morning. That document was never published until we released it yesterday. One day later.
All right, so understand, A lot of you guys, yeah, we all knew something was up. We didn't know about that. We didn't know that the PDB was completely wrong and was manufactured to look a certain way. That is a big part of this. Now they actually have evidence. People have been saying, yo, you got no evidence. You got no. Now there's actual evidence. Not conjecture, not what we thought, not that it's old news. For the first time, we now have actual evidence that they screwed around.
President Obama calls a meeting of his National Security Council, his top officials, to be held on what they called a sensitive topic. And the results of that meeting, which we released yesterday in these over 100 documents that talk about in detail how President Obama and his team, he directed a manufactured piece of intelligence that detailed not if, but how Russia tried to influence the outcome of the United States election that President Trump won in November of 2016.
You know, the thing that gets me is, why did they go through all of this for Hillary? I mean, she already lost. She already lost. They thought they were going to, do the impeachments and that they would get some of the Republicans to go along and they would stain this guy and then just keep his entire 2016 presidency under wraps. Don't let him do anything. Keep him in court. Make him go fight the impeachments and everything else. By the way, not sure if some of you guys know, but Pam Bondi was part of the defense team for President Trump back during the impeachments. So she's been there a long time. She has known, because she defended him, what has been going on. A lot of people don't remember that or don't know that. She was a part of the defense team. And so a lot of these players that are coming in now, the RFK Juniors, the Tulsis, the Pete Hegseth, more than likely they've been read in on this. They now understand and have been shown what exactly these people did. And so obviously RFK Jr. saw what they did to his uncle and his father, and so there's a coalition of people here now that are just like, no, this can't keep going. We have to stop this. So what I would say to people who are like, is anything going to happen? I would just ask you, or not ask you, tell you something. Look at what President Trump has gone through. Look at what they tried to do to him personally. If you were him, would you lay down on this? And secondly, if you were him and you had the ability to take people away on that Epsteinian craziness, you'd do that too. But this here is going to be able to utilize a much bigger net. And it's going to be a much bigger net internationally, with probably people who are still in place. If you aren't familiar with the term Five Eyes, I would begin looking into Five Eyes because of the different things that Hillary and these people did by routing it through different governments. And so now we wonder what happened with New Zealand. What was Justin, what's his name, up there, Trudeau doing? Look into Five Eyes and see how this stuff is all wrapped into that internationally as well.
This document was then used as the foundation for everything that came next. It was essentially a years-long coup that was launched against President Trump before he even had the opportunity to take his oath of office and be sworn in as President of the United States. So, as you know, there was a Mueller investigation that went on for years, cost taxpayers nearly $40 million. There were 2 congressional impeachments. President Trump and almost every member of his family were smeared and attacked, faced lawsuits, depositions. High-level officials were investigated, some were arrested and put in jail. The list goes on and on about the ramifications of this, but foundational to it all was the fact that we had in President Obama and his leadership team people who did not want to accept the will of the American people in electing Donald Trump in 2016, and therefore cooked up this treasonous conspiracy to again.
There it is again. She mentioned that word. You don't just, that's not a word just to dangle out there. I hope you guys understand that is the highest crime in our country. She is now putting it out there multiple times, telling people it was treason. Oh, is anything going to happen? Oh, it's treason. Yeah, something's going to happen. It's already happening. You have to understand that. This is this is crazy. Now, everyone's focused on what she's saying right now. We haven't even started talking about 2020 and what they did there. That's a whole nother investigation. See, this is talking about 2016. If you go back and look at the executive order said what? The executive order said look into 2020. So as she began digging into 2020, she saw all this stuff about 2016. They haven't even released the report on what they're going to do about 2020. I was waiting to see in the chat if anybody picked up on that. Here, let me just show that to you again so you guys could have it. All right, so where is it? All right, so where is it? Let me pull it up so I can have it here. I closed it and I don't have it with me. Wait a minute, there I am. Okay. Here. Okay, let's look at this. The order that he signed on January 20th, his first day in office, was this order. This order here, the weaponization of the government, the Attorney General, and everybody else start looking. The Director of National Intelligence and consultation with the heads of the appropriate and yada, yada, yada. And the first line up here says, or is that the other order? Wait a minute. This is the weaponization. Where is the other one? Hold on. Let me get the other one that I had here too, because it's important for you to see that. Where is it? Oh, okay. It's this one. In combination, holding former government officials accountable. And if you look at it, what it says here in the closing weeks of the 2020 presidential campaign, and that she was supposed to go get that report done and have it ready in the first 90 days. That's what she's doing right now. Let me see where I can bring that up so you guys can see it. Where is it? Yeah, here. Within 90 days of this order, the DNI, that's her. But that was for the 2020 election. So you have to begin thinking, okay, she's been digging into 2020, and they found all this stuff from 2016. There's no executive order that says go look at 2016. So what would have led her to 2016? So that tells you right now she's also sitting on a bunch of stuff about 2020. Hope you guys got that, because there's nothing in here that said to go looking at 2016. It said go look at 2020. What happened? Oh, okay, this goes back to that. So it's happening right now.
Try to effectively, and they did effectively, launch a years-long coup against the sitting president of the United States.
Director Gabbard, I'm glad you used the word coup. I also, in some of your reports, the word treason has come up. We're seeing a lot of things coming to light these days, and it's very encouraging for Americans, especially this report, which so many of us knew this was a hoax. But this goes all the way to the top. I mean, this goes all the way to Barack Obama. Will we actually see someone as high up as Barack Obama take responsibility, be accountable, maybe face criminal charges? Is that a possibility here based on the documents that you've released?
Yeah, Rachel, the seriousness of, again, the implications and the consequences of these actions that were taken demand accountability. The American people not only deserve the truth and accountability, when we look at the future of our country as a democratic republic and the American people's ability to have faith that when they go and cast a vote at the ballot box, that the will of the people will be respected by those in government, whether they be Democrats or Republicans, this is literally what is at stake here. So we are referring all of our documents to the Department of Justice for the purpose of accountability and action. No one.
All right. So you guys wanted to know, you said, is anything going to happen? She just told you it's happening. There is no way, with all this information that she has, that President Trump has told her, you got the green light, go ahead and release it. And when you're releasing it, make sure you let everybody know it was treason, the highest crime in the entire country, and you think Pam Bondi's going to sit on it. They had all this. I got it all. I got the tapes. I got it all. I'm going to obliterate the deep state, but I'm going to give it to Pam and let her sit on it. Now that the other side of this is understand what the communication is at this point. She has just told the world, I do mean world, go look up Five Eyes. She has just told the world that these people committed treason. There aren't too many words people don't want hanging around their neck. Treason isn't one of those words that you want hanging around your neck. And so at this point, she has now referred it the way it's supposed to. She's referred it to the Department of Justice for activity, as she calls it. And so at the same time as she's telling these people on Fox News this morning, and she told Hannity last night, and she posted on X, she's letting everybody know poop's hitting the fan. And what that is probably going to or intended to do is to get the people who want to come clean now and save their butts. There's only so many chairs available in this game of musical chairs. You might want to come in and get yours because it's going to cost you millions to defend it. Obama's got $100 million. He all right. He'll spend his money. Clapper's probably got millions. Comey's probably got millions. You're an analyst. You probably got a couple $100,000 in the bank. We're going to suck that up in the first month unless you cut a deal here. So her going out in public and mentioning this is now being referred to Department of Justice and that they're going to seek prosecution. You don't mention that unless you know you're going to actually do it. This is the first time we've actually seen or heard somebody say we're referring criminal charges. That's how it's different. Even though we've had this for a long time and had our suspicions as to what's going on, this is the part that's new. It's now been given a criminal referral. That's the big difference.
No matter who they are, no matter how high up they are or how powerful they may be, no matter who the intelligence officials or professionals were who were a part of this treasonous conspiracy, there must be accountability. The truth must be shown to the American people in order to ensure that there is this faith and trust and integrity in our democratic republic for the sake of the future of our country.
So as voters, can we feel confident that we will actually see charges, do you think, out of this?
I'm not a lawyer. We're referring all of this to the Department of Justice. I know that Attorney General Pam Bondi is committed to bringing about justice to those who have broken the law. And in this case, again, what these documents detail, to me, in my view, cannot be explained as anything but a treasonous conspiracy.
Third time. So she's making these statements, huge statements. There's nothing else I see. This is treason. Every single one of you in the chat, if there's any of you who said we've heard this before, no, you haven't. I hate to break it to you because I've been waiting too. We have not heard anybody in an official capacity ever say this was treason. Now you have. So is Pam Bondi going to sit on a treasonous charge? Not likely. This is what President Trump was elected for. This is what he wanted to do. Not that other stuff all the conservative influencer mob were yelling about. This is what you voted for. He put it as his first or second executive order. I'm coming for you. And unfortunately, some people are like, whoa, Obama's going to be shielded by presidential immunity. You may have to have a short memory if you think that's the case, because I got a few mugshots I could show you. I could show you Donald Trump's mugshot. I'm sure you've already seen it. So ixnay with the whole presidential immunity thing. Depending on how hard Pam Bondi is really ready to go at this point, and it won't be Pam. Pam's a figurehead. It's going to be Todd Blanche or somebody in there just, let's go. Let's dig. This is about to get juicy, and it's completely different than anything else we've seen.
This is not so different from what we saw under George W. Bush, when we saw that manufactured intelligence claiming there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that kicked off a war that changed our country, that changed the lives of so many people like myself who went and served in those wars. The implications of manufactured intelligence are real. I would even say that what we are seeing here has an even greater impact than what we've seen in the past, because it speaks again to the foundation of our Constitution and our democratic republic, which is why accountability is so critical.
He's a different.
She said accountability like three or four times, and that's the exact word in the executive order. The exact. I mean, I'm a big person in trying to listen to communications and what people say. And that's the exact words in this document. Holding former government officials accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive governmental information. It's coming. And all the distractions, which I now understand what this Epsteinian bullcrap was, is a complete distraction, because certain people had to have known this was coming. There had to have been some people on the inside who told Whisper, oh, you can't believe what they're getting ready to do. Oh, you know what they're getting. And then bam, here it is. So what has happened with President Trump? How is he different than 2016? Listen to this.
Person now than he was in the first term. He's more thoughtful, contemplative. He thinks very carefully about decisions and is open to counsel on it. I mean, I think his head and his heart are in exactly the right place where we would all want them to be.
And why has he changed?
Well, I think surviving 2 failed assassination attempts would get any man's attention. It makes him think deeply, I think, about his legacy, his place in history.
And God?
And God, yeah. And he and I talk about that openly.
Really?
I mean, everybody knows where I stand on this.
Yes.
I told him right after the first attempt, I said, there are no accidents. I don't believe in luck. I believe that was providential. God spared your life on the world stage. 64 days later, after the second failed assassination attempt, when the Secret Service found the gun in the bushes on the golf course in Florida, providentially, my wife and I were landing at Mar-a-Lago to meet with him right after that round of golf. And it just so happened the way it all worked. We wound up at Mar-a-Lago together, and he and I, my wife, Susie Wiles, and Hogan Gidley, who works on my staff, used to work on his. The 5 of us sat in a corner at Mar-a-Lago when the place was locked down before the all clear for almost 3 hours. And had right after, he came in his golf attire, and we sat and processed that. And it was a very moving. Pray? Yeah, I did. I don't know if I prayed over him.
Yes.
But I tell you what, I told him, I said, God's now spared your life twice on the world stage. It's no small thing. And clearly you're going to win the election, and you're going to be raised up to run the greatest country in the history of the world for the second time. What a profound thing that is. And man, that settled on him, and you could see it on his countenance of his face. And he's spoken openly about that ever since. He says it routinely now. God saved his life. I believe that. I believe millions of Americans believe and understand that. And he's upheld by the prayer of a lot of people every day. And that's a profound thing.
And that, boys and girls, should wrap it up in a nice bow for you who are wondering if anything's going to happen. And I just picture that meeting. You know, he's out golfing, and they run him into this corner spot in Mar-a-Lago. You're staying here until we call it all clear. And you're sitting there with some other people, and the conversation leads into prayer. And he could see that his words, he said, the countenance on his face. And he's like, yeah, I'm called for this. And so people can't come at me and say they don't think something's going to happen. People can't come at me and say, we've heard it before or anything like that. No, you haven't. You have not heard this before. This is completely different. This man has gone through absolute hell, almost got unalived a couple of times, survived it, and realized, yeah, you're here for a reason. And so don't tell me that this man hasn't looked himself in the mirror a couple times and said, I I got to do this. I got to do this. And then he gets elected and he wins and he hits the ground running and he has not stopped running. So no, this is completely different than everything else we had previously seen. This guy is on a mission. He's on a mission to save this country. And he's not going to let Pam Bondi get in the way. If for an instance he thought that Pam was going to get in the way, she'd be gone. He's not going to. No, we're going to do this. And now that you've heard Tulsi Gabbard get out there in public and say the word treason, 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 there's no turning back once you accuse people of treason. You better have the goods at this point. And he already told them, I got everything. And so I firmly believe what you're about to see is more and more of this stuff happening and more people. And eventually we're going to see some arrests because you have to. You cannot let people, if you're accusing someone of treason, you can't let that person go. That's the other thing you have to think about. You've just accused somebody of the highest crime in the country. You would be done if you didn't arrest somebody. What's the second highest crime in the country? Murder. So if somebody murdered somebody, you're not going to say, Pam, sit down on your desk. This is it. This is definitely it. And I can't wait tomorrow to see the Sunday shows. And if these people just kind of like disappear, you're going to know what's up. You're definitely going to know what's up. Yeah. Normies are still crying. But Pam said this. They're not paying attention. They're not. They don't understand what's going on. Whatever. Trump is on a mission assigned by God. God's will be done. Let's see what else we got here. We have it all. Nothing can stop what's coming. And again, think about that. You've accused somebody of the top crime in the country. Not jaywalking, not even murder. You've accused somebody of a crime that can get you swinging from trees. Literally. And I don't mean that racially because it's Obama. I'm talking, that's what the penalty is for treason. Look it up. So as you're thinking, well, I don't know if she'll do anything, just think it's the #1 crime against this country. The MSM is dying to ask why Trump isn't rambling about Epstein anymore, but they can't because the answer is this, and they won't touch it. You're absolutely right. Let's see here. Yep, yes it is. Number 1. Will arrests be made? Of course. I just told you why I think arrests were made. You can't accuse somebody of that and come back from it. Let's see. Island Boy was an eminence front. You're spot on, Barry. The president is someone you go up with a hand of 4 aces or bigger because he will trump you every single way. So I hope you guys understand a little bit more. I've got to jump because I have dinner reservations at 8 o'clock and she just knocked on the door. I was glad I got the whole show in and was able to go over this with you guys today. Feel free to tell your friends to watch it because there's some stuff that is happening right now that I don't think we've seen ever. I can't believe, I don't even know if Nixon was accused of treason. I'd have to look that up. That's crazy that she accused these guys of treason. But it is what it is. So let me do super chats and then I gotta jump because we gotta go to dinner. But I'm glad you guys showed up on a Saturday afternoon. That's awesome of you. Very awesome of you. Okay, is this in the right place? Let me move it over here. Look it up here, and here we go. Let me go ahead and, if I'm going a little fast, it's because, like I said, I got to go meet the wife. We're going to dinner. It's our anniversary this week, 32 years. So I just got off the month of Robin. Now we're doing the anniversary tour. Wow, 32 years, half my life I've been with Robin. Actually, it's half her life too because she just turned 64. Roberto, go crypto. Yes. Oh, by the way, I know BLS and a couple of Marcus Anderson might be doing a spaces tonight on crypto. Donna Hill, thank you. Candy May, thank you. Word Furtuck, love Trump and can't wait to see everything. Yes. Dave Rattan, appreciate your take on things. Thank you for taking a strong stand on issues that have been corrupted by the left. Also, thank you, Robin Ashley, and all the mods for keeping civil in the chats. Thank you. Dave Rattan, again, they're still after him. They won't stop coming for him. They will continue to come for him. James Kipp, it needs time for maximum political impact with the midterms. You want the most explosive revelations that can coincide with September to October of 2026. Yes, I completely agree. Corn Pop. Barry, I think you might actually be the most in-depth thinker on YouTube. You've been right every time. That's pretty badass. Well, thank you, but again, if you start reading stuff and understanding where things are, it becomes very, very, I won't say easy, but you can look at things and see what's going on. I think that having followed him for this long and understanding certain laws, that this is going to get really deep. Dave, personally, I don't think Trump is being or will be vindictive. The loonies are getting so filled with a crazy lust to take him down that they're hanging themselves by no longer using cloaked messages. Indeed. D. Shaw, do these sneakers come in women's sizes? I will have to check. Thank you. Renee, I sent you 2 emails from White Sue regarding the MAGA offers. Okay, I will take a look at them. What email did you use? Let the mods know what email so I know what to check. Jay Wilder, Democrats wanted flood states with people to get more Senate seats. Yep, absolutely. And even that's going against them at this point. Linda Smith, the past month I purchased my first silver, did a class, and purchased my first pew-pew. Purchased my first crypto, XRP, and opened an account for stocks. Wow. And he just turned 65. Oh, very, very good. Very, very good. Ladybug says that the statute of limitations does not apply to treason. Exactly. Angela Willimon, that speech gave me chills. Now that I understand better. Excellent, informative show. Yeah, I mean, and he was pissed. I have it all. He screamed. Murray Nigri, Trump has been learning and putting his players in place. That 4 years just showed the MAGA who was the real rhinos. He knew it to be a fiction now. Yep, he exposed a lot. Dave again, Tulsi is proving just because you don't agree with everything someone else believes, as long as the main pillars of belief are the same, you can achieve a lot. Same thing with RFK Jr. He's doing a great job too. Hello, Christina. Thanks, Dr. Cunningham, for the prescription. Seems there's a lot of treasonous individuals. Time for some wind chimes. Renee Del Vecchio, thank you for all you do, Barry. Never miss a show. Thank you very much. David Yeoman, get the clowns. That's funny. Peter Ortiz, DJT is like an EF5 tornado. He is tearing up the deep state. Give him no place to hide, no quarter. Mary Nigri, in our corner we have Trump-tornado and Tornado Trump. Jonas, Comey's daughter firing shows Bonnie doesn't want her leaking any investigation info back to her father. Bingo! Yep, got rid of her just before this drop. Joshua Bennett, just got done watching your Tulsi video. We've got these efforts by the you-know-whats. Yep, I believe so. Fisher, Tulsi was a Democrat until a few months ago. She has a lot of dirt on them. I bet. Peter Ortiz, DJT, Pam, Tulsi, Cash have been working hard and playing the left. Pam Bondi has been a team player from day one. She and others follow his lead. And like I said, if you guys didn't know, she was one of the lead attorneys on his defense of the impeachment cases. Go look that up. Trumpinator, who doesn't think Biden was involved in all this? Exactly. Larry 1754, love my Trump shoes, but too small. What do I do? Oh, Larry, yesterday, send me the email and I'll get them exchanged for you. Send it to showmail@fanfareshop.org, and Ashley gets that email as well. Just another knucklehead. Treason, are they not already being apprehended and detained? This is explosive. All right, so to explain that, Tulsi was the investigator. She got all the information, and now it's being handed over to the Department of Justice. So now that if it's in her hands or it's about to get in her hands, now it's up to the Department of Justice to do the rest. My rhinoceros, the public and NPCs are not ready for what's coming. Nope. Even Republicans aren't ready for this. Rick Williams, those tried for treason in the past. Aaron Burr, Tokyo Rose, John Brown, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, and others will pale in comparison to what may happen in the coming months. Those actions were committed, not just planned. Yeah. Aaron Burr goes way back. Trumpinator, tell them to cut a deal. We will settle for their necks. Oh, let them swing. Where'd I go here? Okay, Penny, this is the accountability that we voted for and President Trump ran on. Indeed. Rhinoceros, the pen OT for trees on his death. I like how you wrote that. David Karanji, thank you. Big Who, those are the prosecutions I'm wanting, would be cherry on top. Agreed. Armando, thank you. Mary Kellums, Trump told Thune no August recess for Senate. Too many judicial nominees did too much work to do. He's not stopping. Not stopping. I guess he took the day off today, as far as we know. Happy anniversary. Pam's been waiting on this all along. Thank you, Charlene. And Joshua Bennett, can we run through the Matrix trilogy on Rumble movie night? A trilogy? We ain't got like 6 hours to go, but we can do the Matrix. If people want to see the Matrix, we can do that for sure. All right, it's 7:11. Perfect timing. I got to get out of here by 7:45 to make our 8 o'clock. And so thank you very much for coming in at a 5 o'clock show today. Thank you very, very much. Start talking to the normies who don't know this stuff. Let them know what's going on and how you can look up these things, especially like the executive orders, and go look up Five Eyes and start looking at all this stuff so you guys know and you can help other people understand what the heck is going on, because it's going to get crazy. All right, so I'm out. See you guys tomorrow.